Hello everyone, I am Saurabh Lohukare and this is Prasad Kanade. We are presenting Lab Connect, a research lab discovery and matching platform for graduate students. This is our project 4 iteration where we focused on design, accessibility and usability improvements based on findings from our usability studies. So let me just quickly recap what Lab Connect does. Every semester, grad students struggle to find research labs. They browse outdated department websites, send code emails to professors, and rarely hear back. So, Lab Connect solves this by letting the professors post their lab openings with specific skill requirements and students create profiles with their technical skills. The platform calculates a skill match percentage between each student and each lab, ranks labs by relevance, and lets students apply directly.
The app has two distinct user roles, that is, students and professors, and the entire interface adapts based on who is logged in. Students see skill matched badges, profile management, and application tools. Professors also see lab hosting, listing management, and applicant review tools. We have built this website using React for the front end, Node and Express for the back end, and MongoDB Atlas as our database. And authentication uses passport.js with the local strategy.
For this particular iteration, we conducted a usability study with 6 participants, 3 as professor personas and 3 as student personas. Each session was about 35 to 45 minutes. We identified and prioritized list of issues using the Moscow framework and implemented changes based on those findings. Let me walk through what we found and what we changed.
So these are our findings summary. From our usability study, we identified issues across four priority levels, and let me quickly summarize them. So for the first level, that is the must level, the critical blockers where we found three things. First is after registration, students were dropped on browse labs before completing their profile. And since the match score depends on having skills entered, the platform the platform's core value proposition was completely invisible to new users, and all four student sessions flagged this independently as the single biggest usability gap. Let me just quickly log in and show you how the new page looks like. So this is how the page now looks like after you have registered as a student. And the second problem was same for the professors as well, as in after they registered, they landed on Browse Labs with no guidance toward posting their first lab listing. And the third issue was the lab cards were not clickable. So we have resolved all these three issues. And if we click on a particular lab now, it will directly open it. And this functionality was absent earlier. Every single participant across 7 sessions instinctively clicked the lab name or the lab card and expected it to open, and only a small view details button in the corner worked. As in, yeah, so we have disabled that button now since the entire card is visible. And all three professions rated the review tasks, and this conflicts with every modern card based UI convention.
Okay, so at the should level, we found that the professor application review page showed only the student's name, match percentage, and personal statement. There were no skills, no GPA, and no resume links. All three professor sessions rated the review task at 3 out of 5 because they couldn't make real decisions with the data available. We also found that accept and decline actions executed immediately with no confirmation and no undo. And the system font was the most consistently cited design issue across all the 6 sessions. Participants called it a homework project, and a developer built this, not a designer. And at the code level and wood levels, we had issues like missing password requirement hints, native browser confirmation dialogues, looking out of place, no product tagline on the landing page, and keyboard focus indicators being nearly invisible.
Right, and talking about the typography and font changes, let me show you guys the typography changes which almost all students had flagged earlier. And I'm going to open the application now, and as you can see here on this particular page where the labs are visible. So the first thing you can notice here is the fonts. Previously, we were using browser's default system font across the entire application. And every participant in our usability study called this out. So now we have used a Google font that we can see here, or this as well. So the entire app uses this intentional font choice consistently. And if I navigate to any other page, then you can see that the same font is implemented there as well. For example, here too. So it takes the entire application looking like a prototype to feeling like a design product.
And moving on to the post-registration onboarding part, like after the onboarding fix, which was our number one must priority issue, if we register as a new student account to demonstrate. So Prasad, if you can navigate to the register page. Yeah, first. So first notice the registration form. Under the password field, you can now see the helper text that says it must be at least 6 characters. This was a code priority issue from our study where every participant had to guess the password requirements. Now it's clearly stated. And if we go on and fill out the register form, can you register as a new
Sure.
student user? Yeah. So
Shall I make a student account or a professor account?
yeah, make a student account.
Okay.
Yeah, so the validation check works here as well. Uh, so we need to create a password which is more than or at least 6 characters. So like, uh, can you go to the profile? So basically, for the student user, we need to fill out the profile first, fill in the details so the labs can find you and match your skills. So the email and the name has already been pre-filled from the registration form. This addresses the must priority finding that students need to set up their skills before browsing because without the skills, the match percentages do not work out.
Right, and the same fees fix applies to professors as well. So just now the process that we saw for students. So if I replicate the same process for a professor, then instead of landing on the browse labs page, the app will guide me towards the posting as my first lab listing. And this was the second must priority issue from our study. As in every professor participant said that their first instinct after registration was to post their new lab and not browse other people's lab listings. And talking about the next part, that is making a card clickable. So let me show you the third must priority fix, as in making these cards clickable. So you can see that every card here has, yeah, they have match batches, as in every student can see that what skills are required for a particular uh, lab, and once I click on a particular card, then it will open it, and this was not happening previously. So it opens the lab details page, and the entire card surface is now a clickable link. The view details button is still there as a visible call to action, but the whole card responds to click. This matches with standard pattern users expect from Netflix, LinkedIn, Amazon, anywhere that you see cards.
Right. So, like moving on to the custom confirmation models. So, next, the confirmation dialogues. So previously, we used native browser confirm pop-ups for destructive actions like deleting a lab listing or withdrawing an application. Multiple participants described these as like Windows 98 pop-up on a modern web application. They were visually jarring and couldn't be customized. So if we go on to my profile and try deleting the account, we would see a new modern uh, model. So first off, I think you would have to save your profile or add some skills to
Okay,
it.
sure.
Yeah. So if you go on and delete account, you can see a model. So instead of a browser pop-up, we now have a styled model that matches the application's design language, same fonts, same button colors, same border radius. It says delete account as the title, it has a warning icon, and the message clearly explains the consequences. This will permanently delete your account profile and all the applications. This action cannot be undone. The buttons are keep account and delete my account in red. So uh, let me also show you a withdraw action. So if you go to my applications and click withdraw on a particular application, if you have applied for, so you can go ahead and first of apply for a certain lab through Browse Lab,
Sure.
and then you can maybe check out.
So you're talking about going to my
Yeah,
applications and then
yeah, you are on the my applications page. So if you go and click withdraw.
okay.
Yeah, so this also opens a same styled model which says withdraw application title, and the message says this will permanently withdraw your application. You can reapply to this lab later. So the buttons are keep application and withdraw is in red. This is consistent across every destructive action in the application. For example, deleting the lab, withdrawing an application, or even deleting the account.
Okay, and talking about the keyboard accessibility now. So this was a must priority issue as in keyboard focus indicators were nearly invisible, especially on the dark nav bar as in this. So one participant rated that the focus visibility as 3 out of 10. So let me demonstrate that. I'm going to quickly navigate this page using only the keyboard and no mouse. So if I press somewhere on the nav bar and if I press the tab button now, so we can see a yellow focus ring that appears on every option that is present here, as in Lab Connect, Browse Labs. So as I'm iterating through, then I can see a yellow border that has formed on every option. So tabbing into the page, the search input as in, yeah, so we can see the search input here, then the department filter, then the clear button. So each one has a focus indicator now, and now into the lab cards, each card gets a focus outline, and I can press enter if I have to open a particular one.
Right. So we also fixed the skill tag accessibility issue that was flagged in our study. So previously, the X buttons on the skill tags were not in the keyboard tab order. So when the user is trying to set up the skills that they have on their profile, they were not able to access the cancellation buttons on that particular skill tag. So now you could add skills with the keyboard but couldn't remove them without a mouse. So actually now each tag's remove button is focusable via the tab button on the keyboard and activatable with enter. So yeah, if you navigate to the skill tag on the, and if you press tab
Hmm.
on the skill, yeah, we can see that the tab on the, by pressing the tab button on the keyboard, the skill can be accessed, and by pressing enter, we can remove it completely. So full keyboard accessibility for the entire skill management interaction has been achieved in this iteration. So moving on, going to the enhanced application review for the professor's user. Now, from our usability studies, we understood that it was a priority issue that all the three professor participants had flagged. The application review page lacked student details. So previously, professors only saw the students' match name and match score, the name and personal statement. They couldn't see the student's actual skills, GPA, or even the resume. Let me log in as the professor and view the applications on one of the labs.
I think just a minute. Yes, this is a professor account now.
Okay, so Uh, can you like post a lab or something to which I can apply as a student user?
Should I post a new lab?
Yeah. Just add skills like Python and NLP in it.
Okay.
Okay. So
So I think basically if we can see the color palette and visual design here, we can see that we have made significant improvements here as in our usability study report found that the color palette was consistent but felt cold and corporate. So we have maintained the existing color system, but we have made navy header, blue primary buttons and gray secondary, red for danger and green for positive, which we can see the
so
different. Yeah.
that's correct. So if you go on now and if you look into the applications tab for your for the lab that you just posted, the April 21 lab.
Mm.
So if you go ahead and click on view applications, right. So basically now the application card looks like this. There is the student name below. There's a max score. There's a new student profile summary section. It shows the student skills as tags with max skills highlighted in green and missing skills in blue. So you can immediately see the fit breakdown. Below that, there is GPA, the availability, and the clickable resume link if the student has added a resume. This means the professors can now scan an application and immediately see the name, match percentage, which specific skills match, which are missing, their GPA, their availability, their resume, and their personal statement, all in one view without navigating away. This directly addresses the feedback from our usability study, where professors said they couldn't make real hiring decisions with just a name and a statement.
Right. And let me talk about the semantic HTML and additional changes that we have done. So all our HTML elements now follow a semantic order. We have used proper semantic tags throughout, as in header for the nav bar, nav for navigation, main for page content, and section for content groups, as in H1 through H3 for heading hierarchy, button for interactive actions, and anchor tags for navigation links. And in this particular iteration, we have not used any divs acting as buttons, no span acting as links.
Right. So we also cleaned up a few other issues from the usability report. The research interest field on the profile form previously used comma separated text input while the skills used tag input. Multiple participants flagged this inconsistency. We unified them so both now use the same tag interaction pattern. We can type whatever we want and press enter to add it in the skill tag or click X to remove it from the skill tag. The personal statement minimum was raised from a less number of characters to 50 characters and which could actually form a meaningful personal statement. And the applied badge on the lab detail pages when a student has already applied to a lab, the apply to this lab button is replaced with a green applied badge. This prevents duplicate applications and gives immediate visual feedback about the student's status with that lab. Moving on, like to just to summarize, in this iteration, we addressed every must and should priority issue from our usability study. We improved the typography with an intentional Google font, fixed post-registration onboarding for both students and professors, made lab cards fully clickable, replaced all native browser dialogues with style confirmation models, significantly improved keyboard accessibility with visible focus indicators and keyboard accessible skill tag removal, enhanced the professor application review with full student profile data, added accept decline confirmation dialogues, and ensured the application passes accessibility checks on Lighthouse.
Right. And this usability study that we covered or completed for the past 1 month was invaluable because having 7 real users walk through the entire application and think out loud surfaced issues that we would have never thought otherwise or by ourselves. The prioritization framework helped us focus on the changes that would have the biggest impact. So thank you, Saurabh, for this entire presentation.
Thank you, Prasad.